Hey guys, how's it going? It's Alex of Coyote Star Astrology, and I just wanted to do a quick video discussing why getting a natal chart might be of value or interest to you. I sort of realized recently that at the end of every one of my videos, I say, if you would like to get a natal chart reading, contact me, but also realized that some of you may not even know what that means or why it might be interesting to dive into. So I'm just going to do a quick video discussing what I offer as far as all that entails. And first, I just wanted to share with you that one of the things that frustrates me the most when I'm speaking with people that are skeptical about astrology is that there's this misconception that astrology compartmentalizes a person, or that it's a modality that puts your personality in categories and sort of constricts you in some way. This is not true whatsoever. The type of astrology that I do is actually called evolutionary astrology, which is completely based off of change. Evolutionary astrology really uses your nodal axis, which we'll talk about in just a minute, as a basis for kind of the entire reading. And your nodal axis is a polarity point, meaning opposites. And throughout your life, you actually sort of evolve in many ways into the exact opposite of what you came into, at least karmically and symbolically. So there's a lot of room for change. The zodiac itself is a wheel, it's a circle, it's a spiral, and we go through cycles and we shift. And evolutionary astrology really allows for this expansion. The only thing that's constricting or compartmentalizing about astrology is lack of knowledge about it. And as an astrologer, it's really sad, tragic to me that most people only know their sun signs and think that that in any way represents astrology, because it doesn't. So what do I offer during a natal chart reading? Well, we do start with your sun. I structure it that way, and we go through all of the planets in the main planetary bodies in your natal chart. Evolutionary astrology uses your natal chart as a snapshot of your soul's imprint at the time of your birth. So essentially, at the moment your soul decided to take on a human body to begin the quest of life via the human experience, we use that snapshot to work with. So this is your natal chart or your birth chart. And your birth chart has all of your planets, the sun, moon, Mercury, etc. And we go through those one by one, and we talk about what they mean. So sun sign, as most of you know, most people know that they're a Gemini or a Sagittarius. This is an incredibly small part of your chart. It really doesn't tell you or me anything. So each planet, based on where it is in your chart, completely changes the nature of the planet itself. So you could be, for example, a Sagittarius, but then we'll look at where it's placed. There's something called a house system. There's 12 different houses in your natal chart. And if you were a Sagittarius with your sun in your 4th house, this would be coming through the lens of a Cancer, which means you would be less likely to travel as much as the classic Sagittarian, which is known to be quite nomadic, and you would be more likely to settle and like to settle into a home space like a Cancer would. So we'll start with your sun, and then we go to your moon, which is your more personal, private, internal processes, your private emotional self. This is your intuitive self. And where our moon is and the sign that it's in is how we feel secure, or the types of things we're attracted to in order to feel secure. And it also represents the archetypal mother. So then we would look at what house the moon is in. Then we would go on to your Mercury, which is how you communicate, the types of things you think about, what you like to talk about. Are you a combative person, or are you more passive? This is all subject matter that we would discuss within the Mercury sign. And then again, we would look at the house that Mercury is placed in, which would tell us even more about that. We walk through each planet one by one. Then we go to your Mars, which is sexual energy and drive onto Venus, which is love and beauty. Venus is often how we decorate our home or the types of partners we attract, the way that we dress, etc. Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, etc. So we go through all of the planets one by one and by house system. Then we go to your Chiron, which is the collective wound. And Chiron tells us a lot about wounds that you may carry on your path, on your journey. And then we go to your north and south nodes, which are really where things start to get really interesting, because our nodal axis is where we get into past life karma or karmic debt that we are carrying into this life from previous lifetimes or previous experiences outside of this body that we might be recreating or re-experiencing in this life. Along this life stream, our soul starts to reach for its north node, which is what our soul is longing to evolve into, which, like I said at the beginning of the video, is completely polarizing your south node. So if your south node was in Cancer, your north node would be in Capricorn. If your south node was in Taurus, your north node would be in Scorpio. So it's always directly opposite. So your soul throughout this lifetime is evolving into themes directly opposite from which it came, or the life prior. Where your north and south node lies, again, the houses that it occupies are going to further color the experience that this brings forth. Because we're evolving into the opposite of where we came, as a result, there are many challenges along the path, because this goes against literally what we're used to and what feels most familiar. And then we look at all of the planets and how they're aspecting these nodes all together, which tells us a huge, very detailed story, outlining and echoing a lot of the experiences that you've had in this life, patterns you keep repeating, archetypes that continue to show up, so on and so forth. And then we look at current transits, and how they're affecting all of these planets together. It's very, very extensive. It's very, very fine-tuned. It's very unique. My readings generally take about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I don't put a time limit on it. Anyone who's had a reading with me can tell you I will talk for 3 hours if we're in a flow and more keeps coming up, and we're discovering more and more. And lost my train of thought. What tends to happen, which for me is the most exciting part of a reading, is that the reading tends to pick up speed as we go, as the planets themselves start to really come alive in how they're playing out in your life. If you think of your natal chart as this cosmic chessboard, the pieces as we go start to come alive, and we start to be able to navigate and distinguish what people, what key players in your life have been represented by which planets, and what lessons those people have taught you, or those situations have taught you, which are now evolving into the upgraded lesson. It's a little bit hard to explain, but this story does start to unfold, and we start to be able to unlock really interesting keys. And, you know, I say this to my clients a lot. Astrology isn't going to necessarily tell you something you don't already know, because once again, this is your soul imprint. It's you. You have all of this within you, but it really gives form to the formless, because we came in as ourselves and we're always ourselves. It can be difficult sometimes to understand ourselves for that very reason, because we're carrying around our consciousness all the time. And astrology can kind of tease apart and define and illuminate aspects of the personality that you've become so used to, or it's become so compulsive that you don't even recognize it as you anymore. But within a reading, we can really start to kind of chip away at some of these things that have become more mundane, or just second nature, kind of autopilot, and start to see you objectively, and your nature and your karma and what you're here to accomplish, your life mission. an evolutionary astrology reading is really about your life mission. And that is, for me, what has brought me the most healing is that it will resonate. And there's no way that it can't, because it is mathematically perfect every time, as long as we have your birth time right. So it's truly amazing, and a lot has been done throughout history to burn, destroy, and hide this incredibly magical healing modality. I can't even explain how powerful it is, and I really want us all to reclaim our birthright, to interpreting our God-given gift, which is our natal chart. It is uniquely yours. No one else has yours, and it's incredible. So, yeah, I hope that kind of helps explain to some of you who may not have been aware what it is that I'm even talking about when I offer this interpretation out. I love what I do, and I love every single session that I have with you guys. So if you are interested in getting to know your natal chart, reach out to me. My email will be down below, and we can explore your life mission together. All right, guys, have a good night.